It's that simple. If you're ready to sell your home right now, any home, any condition, and you don't want to put money into it, no problem. We'll buy it from you. Call right now. It's a free call.
800-656-8429. 800-656-8429. 800-656-8429. That's 800-656-8429.
The Your Daily Prayer podcast provides timeless truths from God's Word to guide you through every day. Prayers for your hardest days and happiest ones. Prayers for when you wake up and when you lay down. We want to help you experience a richer prayer life today. Download Your Daily Prayer podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Or go to yourdailyprayer.com. That's yourdailyprayer.com.
WTBN Pinellas Park, WLCC Brandon.
Faith Talk Tampa. Online at letstalkfaith.com. Download the Faith Talk Tampa app.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Former President Donald Trump has announced on Truth Social that he has agreed to debate Vice President Kamala Harris on Wednesday, September 24th, accepting an offer from Fox News to host that event. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent says in the run-up to the November election, you can expect the mainstream media to ignore the faults of the Biden-Harris administration, including the border, inflation, and crime.
Forget about all that. If you don't vote for Kamala, you're weird, and we're going to treat you like you're weird, and you don't want to be weird, do you?
Senator Talent was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Vice President Harris has secured enough votes from Democratic delegates to become her party's presidential nominee. Representative David Joyce says it's too early to blame former Secret Service Director Cheadle's focus on affirmative action for lapses that allowed a gunman to nearly kill Donald Trump last month.
And I don't have any problem with women being on the group, as long as the women are trained and know what their duty is, and that's to take the bullet for the protectee and making sure that first off, hopefully the bullet never comes, but if they do, that to be in line to take it, make sure that they take that bullet for the protectee and his family.
Congressman Joyce is part of the 13-member House panel that will investigate the attempted assassination. A surprising rise in the unemployment rate last month has rattled financial markets and set off new worries about the threat of a recession.
Financial markets are in a bit of a tizzy, with investors worrying whether perhaps, for worst case scenario, a recession's already begun, and it's hard to make that case. But it could be that a more pronounced slowdown than expected is underway.
As Bankrate.com senior economic analyst Mark Hamrick, Friday's report from the Labor Department showed employers added just 114,000 jobs in July, far fewer than the 175,000 forecasters had hoped for. This is SRN News.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good morning. Welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Give me just a second. I was trying to get the latest on the storm. I know some of you are saying, what storm? That's because you're called Floridians and you're not thinking about this. But we have a lot of new Floridians and full-on panic mode is set in. So I'm trying to bring a little calm to what's actually going on here and what's not going on here. What's not going on is kind of like what happened with Shepard Smith, I think, during the Matthew storm over on the East Coast. See if you can find that audio, Yumiko. It would just be Shepard Smith, Hurricane Matthew. You got it? All right, that was quick on the draw. Good job. So we're going to give you the latest on what's going on and kind of just common sense things to do to prepare. But first of all, our usual routine, we are here to answer your legal questions. 877-943-9673. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and we're with you every Saturday morning. For those of you new to the program, welcome. We are here to answer all of your legal questions. So if you have a legal question, Give us a call now. Cal standing by to screen your call and get you on the air with us. 877-943-9673. All right, so you got the audio, Yumiko. Let's go ahead and cue that up. This is what we don't want you to react to. We don't want this. Go ahead, Yumiko.
See this? Melbourne, Daytona Beach, all the way up to Jacksonville. This moves 20 miles to the west, and you and everyone you know are dead. All of you. Because you can't survive it. It's not possible unless you're very, very lucky. And your kids die too.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to die, but not in this storm, probably. And Matthew, that was obviously famously overstated the threat there. It was a serious storm. I mean, it was a category 4, but obviously a little too nihilistic on the part of one Shepard Smith there. So right now, the models are showing still a tropical depression, not a named storm yet. And also looks like it's going to be well off the coast of Florida at this point. It's going to stay west of us, at least according to the latest models. But, you know, all the usual things. Make sure you have your storm radio, your water supply, food supply. You know, you have your generator. You know how to operate your generator. That's a good one. Read the manual on that. Don't put the generator in your garage or your carport. I actually lost a cousin to that years ago who unfortunately was staying with someone who decided to put the generator in the carport too close to the house, so the fumes filled the house, and the rest is history. So just make sure you operate your generator safely, keep it a safe distance from the house, and follow all the guidelines. It's worth reading the manual. I'm a man too. I get it. We don't read manuals. I understand that. And all good. We do. We have Roger Schulman, who's going to call in and give us the latest on the storm as well. Our local weatherman / reporter man on the street, Roger Schulman, legend in the radio field. So he'll be calling in and give us his latest. Right now, just a tropical depression. You can expect a lot of wind and rain and usual stuff. And I think the worst of it's supposed to be for our area kind of tomorrow morning through the day Sunday. So if you can limit your outdoor activity or roadway activity on Sunday, probably a good idea. If you have a legal question, 877-943-9673. Let's go ahead and take our first call today. Let's go to Ron in Sarasota. Ron, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How can we help you today?
Good morning. Thank you. Great show last week with the intern. Nice stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. And we also wanted to say thank you to Wade Ramsey, the attorney from Alabama, who came on for our latest estate planning around the nation segment. But yeah, Lexi did a great job with her Ask Me Anything segment, and she is safely up in North Carolina and ready for her law school career to begin. But Ron, I appreciate your kind words. How can we help you today?
So I have a trust. Unfortunately, 3 years ago, the wife passed. I want title to go to the son who's sticking around because I have 4. And if they live to have the will executed in the trust and I'm gone, I want to specifically make sure my property, my title to my home goes to an individual, not the 4 of them if they're all up and going. I want it specifically to him, even as early as now, so when I'm gone, it's already in motion. Because I have no plans to go nowhere unless I were in need to be in a facility. But I don't want it to be lost. Since I have title, I don't want it open. I want it specific. Even though it's in a trust, I really wanted to preliminary investigate this with you because obviously I've had a trust and a will since 2005.
Ron, how long were you married?
I thank God for 26 years, real close to 27.
Wow. Well, Ron, I'm sorry. I've been married just over 21 years, and I would be apoplectic without my wife. I'll say a prayer for you. And I've watched too many people become widows and widowers over the years, and it's just a new normal. There's no going back to the way it was when your spouse was here, is what I've discovered. It's just a matter of redefining what that next chapter in your life is going to look like. I hear what you're saying. You want the property to go particularly to this one son. Now, you said something about an open title. Is it a manufactured home?
No, it is a structure.
Okay.
And it is an old.
So I would just amend your trust to specifically devise that property to that particular son. I think it's a relatively simple edit. And we have a Sarasota location, so you can come in. I'll give out the office line here for the early crowd, and you can give us a call and we'll get you into the Sarasota office. We'll review everything with you and make any updates that you so desire to make, Ron.
Okay.
All right. Ron, any other questions we can answer for you?
No, I don't believe so. If there were something to come up, maybe during an office visit. And that's all.
All righty. Well, Ron, we'll look forward to working with you. And if things ever change, a lot of times, I haven't seen your particular trust, but if things change with your other three boys and you reconcile or they get closer, you can always modify it again if it is a revocable trust. And it sounds like it probably is. So just know that this doesn't have to be the last change you ever make. If life continues to bring you curveballs and different developments, or, for instance, you find love again in your life and you decide to marry or something like that, we can have the conversation about a prenuptial agreement and possibly incorporating your new spouse. So I'm just saying we'll keep things dynamic so that we can adjust to maintain optimization to protect your family, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ron. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and stay safe, okay?
Gonna do that.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon. All righty. 877-943-9673. That's your number to be part of the show. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we do have offices in Sarasota, as well as Sun City Center, Clearwater, where I was all day yesterday, and throughout the state now. And if you want to schedule your complimentary estate planning consultation, that number, 844-PATRICK, 844-728-7425, 844-728-7425. So I was in a conversation this past week, and my wife, who's my constant oracle for show prep, sent me a wonderful idea, and then it came into the office with a lot of younger couples coming in this week, talking about their estate planning, and it sort of brought to mind the idea of how important estate planning is for younger couples, because a lot of times estate planning sort of gets this rap of being something just for the elderly. But when you have younger couples, especially young couples with young children, the important part of the estate planning component is often designating who is going to be the caregiver for any minors. And the goal there, number one, is to ease the transition for the child. This is a child who at a young age has lost their parents. There's obviously trauma from that. So you want to try to minimize additional trauma by having pre-selected someone that you want to care for the child. Number one, it settles any dispute within the family. So you don't have family fighting over a child in the wake of that child having lost a parent, which obviously would be significant additional trauma. Number two, you've selected the person, so you can kind of think about which family member will be best to, put them to bed at night, make their breakfast in the morning, take them to school, therapy, baseball, ballet practice, whatever they may be into. Who's going to be that caregiver role? Who's going to optimize that? And then more importantly, revisiting this periodically and making sure you update it for the minor children. Maybe the person you designated originally isn't the best choice anymore. Maybe they're making certain life choices you're not crazy about. Maybe they married someone that you're not crazy about, or they moved somewhere that you don't feel great about your children living there. So you want to stay on top of that and make sure that you develop a plan to provide care for those minors. But that led into a discussion about, caregivers for minors is one thing. What if I have an adult child with special needs? Now, this is a very common situation. But again, it's a situation where you want to pre-plan, because the outcomes in both scenarios, whether it's a minor child or whether it's a child who's an adult that happens to have special needs, if you fail to designate someone to be that caregiver or trustee role for them, depending on their age, you potentially subject them to the possibility of becoming a ward of the state, which is obviously the last thing you want. You want to have selected someone to be in this child's life, whether they were a minor or an adult with special needs. Your choice for them would obviously be superior to the state, because the state doesn't know your family member as well as you do. So you have lots of options out there. And you typically, what we do is we pick, a first, second, third choice. And like I said, we revisit it every so often to make sure that those people are still the best choices. Are they in good health? Are they of sound mind? Are they still making good financial choices? So I think it's incredibly important. We often focus on the estate planning when it comes to the bequesting side. Who are the beneficiaries going to be? Who gets what? But this is a different element to it, but it's an important element. Who are the caregivers going to be? And in addition to that, it's not just the caregivers for, like I said, adult children with special needs or minor children. Who are going to be your caregivers? Who are you picking in the documents to provide care for you now, or should you become incapacitated? And like I said, if you don't pick those people, it is possible for professional guardians to get appointed on your behalf because you failed to designate someone yourself. So encourage all of you, for a multitude of reasons, to consider making your estate plan so that you don't leave this up to the state to decide for you, and you take responsibility and you're good stewards of all that God's given you, and you plan accordingly. If you have a legal question this morning, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local, and I'm happy to help any way I can with your legal questions. You can also email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or just submit it directly through the website. That website again, attorneypatricksmith.com. You can visit there 24/7. Check out all our office locations, all the prior radio show broadcast, my bio and information about me, and also all of our rates, our flat fees we do for the estate planning services, the non-taxable estates trust package, which is for estates of less than $13 million, which is most of America at this point. At $695, which covers the trust, pour-over will, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, and the deed for the home, and our simple wills at $75. Someone said, do you actually do any wills for $75? I see it advertised, but do people actually do that? All the time. I did several this past week. So yeah, if you just need a will, we're happy to do it. The fee is $75 for that. All our fees are published on the website, again, attorneypatricksmith.com. And I did want to say a very special thank you to listener Linda. On a previous broadcast, I can't remember which broadcast it was, but I had made mention of, and it may have been when I was filling in for Bill Bunkley on his show, when I was talking to Dwayne Bischoff about baseball and how we live in Indian Rocks Beach and surrounded by tons of great minor league baseball. And I said, I just never have time and I don't really pay attention to when the games are. Well, a listener, Linda, was nice enough to get me a schedule for our Clearwater Thrashers. So thank you, Linda, for sending me a schedule. Now I have no excuse for not going to the game because I have my own personal schedule and guide to their games, and fully intend to get out there and see some good minor league baseball, because it is such a tragedy that we live right here in Indian Rocks Beach and we're surrounded by some great minor league baseball in Clearwater and Dunedin, and it's just right up the road, and look forward to fully taking advantage of that. But appreciate listener Linda for facilitating that by providing me a copy of the Thrashers schedule. I want to talk next about something that comes up at the office regularly, but it's come up recently, and it involves banks. And you know how much I love banks, and I love banks that give bad legal advice. And recently there were some interactions where there was some misunderstanding regarding safe deposit boxes. And you hear people all the time that say, well, I know the bank will, freeze and seal the safe deposit box. And maybe this has happened to you. Give us a call. I'd love to hear your safe deposit box story. 877-943-9673. That's your local number. Or if you have a question about safe deposit boxes, 877-943-9673. But this often arises where someone dies and the family says, well, everything is in that safe deposit box. And so they go to the bank, and the bank says, well, to get access to the safe deposit box, you need a court order. And they say, cool. Everything we need to get the court order is in the box. And then you got this sort of catch-22. What I need to get in the box, I don't have. And what I need to get what I don't have is in the box. So how do we solve that? Well, there is a solution in Florida statute. And just so you know, when this arises at my office, I print out the statute like I have in my hands now. I hand it to the client and I say, go to the bank, show them the rule. Here it is, folks. Florida statute 655.935. Search procedure on death of lessee. It's talking about the lessee of a safe deposit box. By the way, it is safe deposit box. And a lot of you right now are saying, oh, I've been calling it a safety deposit box. It's not a safety deposit box. It's a safe deposit box. If satisfactory proof of the death of the lessee is presented, what's satisfactory proof? Death certificate. We sort of skipped over this story, but if you've noticed a delay in getting death certificates, it's because apparently there was a hack or information leak through the Bureau of Vital Statistics. So what I was being told was they were having to do a lot of it by hand and weren't doing anything electronically. So there was a significant delay in getting death certificates. I had the story in the queue. We never got to it because there's just so much more to get to than we have time during the show typically. And now it seems like the matter's resolved. So it's really a non-story. But if for a while there you noticed a delay in getting death certificates, and as often as we need them, we certainly did notice that delay. That's why. Apparently there was some information or security hack, and apparently now that is remedied and everything's back up to normal as far as I understand. Nevertheless, according to this statute, if satisfactory proof of death of the lessee is presented, a lessor, that's the bank, shall permit the person named in a court order for that purpose, or if no order has been served upon the lessor. So here's the scenario. What I need to get that order is in the box. So I don't have that order. Who can get in without that court order in hand? The spouse, a parent, an adult descendant, or a person named as personal representative in a copy of the purported will produced by such person. So that's a scenario you see all the time. I have a copy, but I need the original because what gets filed with the court? The original. If you only have the copy, there's certain rules and presumptions that you have to rebut and procedures to get a copy admitted through an oath of witness. So it's more work. So if I have that original, it's just much more seamless to start the probate process for the will. So any person on this list can go in and look at the contents of the box without the court order. The spouse, parent, adult descendant, or a person named as personal representative in a copy of the purported will produced by such person to open and examine the contents of the safe deposit box or co-leased by a decedent, or any documents delivered by a decedent for safekeeping in the presence of the officer or lessor. So, when they go in, what do they do next? If requested by such person, the lessor shall remove and deliver only. So here's what the bank will actually let you remove from that box when you're doing this inspection. Any writing purporting to be a will of the decedent. Now, here's interesting about this. They don't give it to you. What do they do with it? They deliver it to the court having probate jurisdiction in the county which the financial institution is located. So that particular county probate division of the clerk of court. Why would that be the law? Because you don't want to give it to the person who's there, because that would subject it to potential tampering. It goes straight from the bank to the courthouse for safekeeping. Furthermore, any writing purporting to be a deed to a burial plot or burial instructions, that'll go to the person who makes the request for the search, the family member or the person nominated as the personal representative. Why? Because the bank's not going to make the funeral arrangements. That's obviously something done within the family. And any document purporting to be insurance policy on the life of the decedent to the beneficiary named. So that is sort of the law on safe deposit boxes. If you have a safe deposit box out there, now there's obviously easy ways to get around that. You can put the safe deposit box in the name of your trust. For those of you who have trust, you can add another person directly to the box. So they're a co-owner on the box. That's a little riskier because now that person could go in there before you die. So that's going to be someone that you have to sort of trust implicitly. But if you go into the bank when a loved one passes and the bank simply says, no, you don't get access, call us up. We'll get you a copy of this statute. Or for those of you who are savvy on the internet or at the law library, it's Florida Statute 655.935, search procedure on death of lessee. You print that statute out, take it into the bank. That's your trump card, and they will grant you the access to the safe deposit box to gain the items which you're permitted access to. If you have a legal question this morning, 877-943-9673. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And we're here every Saturday to answer your legal questions. We kicked off the top of the show by talking about the depression I think we're still at south of us right now at the moment. And we're going to go back now and revisit that topic with our local meteorological expert and reporter, Roger Schulman. Roger, thanks for calling in on a Saturday morning. How you doing today?
Well, quite wonderful, Patrick. It's good to hear you, and it's going to be a little turbulent this weekend, but it isn't.
Yeah, so what is the latest? Where is the storm? What's it doing? Is it strengthening? Is it weakening? I hear all this talk about wind shear and the temperature in the Gulf and everything. So what's going on with it, Roger?
Well, it's south of Cuba right now. It's called Tropical Depression 4. Now, this is not a hurricane. It's a tropical depression. We're not all going to get blown away at this point. I talked to the National Weather Service, and it's moving north-northwest through tomorrow. We'll see the maximum effects Sunday afternoon in the immediate Tampa Bay area and the west coast of Florida with heavy rains. Winds will be 40 to 55 miles per hour now. And we can expect 5 to 10 inches of rain, which means a lot of street flooding, particularly in the low-lying areas. And anywhere in Tampa, of course, where it floods when you get about half an inch of rain. And 15 inches of rain in some cases. We'll get a storm surge of 2 to 4 feet, and some river flooding is possible. We could also get some tornado action. And now's the time to get any supplies you might need. Fill up the gas tank if you have the ability to do so. Although it doesn't look like we're going to have to make any massive evacuations. Now, this is not a hurricane. Orlando is going to get a lot of rain, but the main effect of this will be the west coastal areas of Florida, the immediate Tampa Bay area, Fort Myers, Sarasota, and it will go up to the Big Bend by Monday. And it's going to be a pretty big event, but it is not death and destruction. You will want to get your lawn furniture and anything that can blow away secured. Now's the time to do that. You don't have to buy out. You don't have to go to Publix and buy out everything they have. It's not going to be something of that nature, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. We do have a lot of municipalities offering sandbags. If you think you need them, you can get them. But be careful. A lot of people go out there who are out of shape and they're lifting sandbags, and you have more injuries from that than you do the storm sometime. But other than that, it's Tropical Depression 4. It could generate a few tornadoes, and that's about it.
I was talking with Joe Weaver before the show, Roger, and again, thank you for calling in. And we were trying to decide, has the National Weather Service made any determination as far as who's more to blame for the storm? Is it more the Republicans or more the Democrats? Whose fault is this storm?
I'd say it's the Whig Party.
The Whig Party. Yeah, I think that's the right answer. We'll blame the Whigs. So no, I'm saying that facetiously, but I'm also, partially not, because everything seems to be getting so politicized at this point, Roger, with an election year coming up. It's kind of nice just to have a storm out there, and it's just a bipartisan storm. We can all agree there's a storm out there, and it's bad, but
me driving my car with a 5-liter engine and Taylor Swift flying her jet are not the cause of this. The Earth has been here for a very long time. Weather changes through the centuries. We have volcanoes that erupt. We have a number of factors, and there's a big industry out there that tries to blame us humans and get money to enrich themselves and make us feel guilty. We do have an effect on things. We can pollute water, or we can do things right. We can. I remember TECO. I used to have a plant in Big Bend that would make a big brown cloud every day.
Mm-hmm.
They put some scrubbers in that, and the sky was clear ever since. We can do things to improve things as far as the environment, but it's not all our fault.
And speaking of improving things, for a couple of years now, I've been driving completely electric and producing zero carbon footprint. But I always think about you whenever topics about electric vehicles come up. And I thought about you recently because my buddy John Sinning mentioned on his show, and I told John this. And again, happy birthday, John. Yesterday was his birthday. He was telling a story about how on 275, some guy was driving his Tesla across the Howard Franklin Bridge, something went wrong, and next thing he knows, he's ejected from the car and he's in the middle of Tampa Bay. And John's telling this story like as I'm driving my Tesla on the Howard Franklin Bridge. And I just remember the only other time I've had so much anxiety about driving a Tesla was when you called into the show. And I forget what the topic was. It was something completely unrelated. And out of the blue, you go, and don't forget about those Teslas with their batteries blowing up right now. And I was like, thank you, Roger, for that anxiety attack. So,
well, that is a factor. If it does flood, you don't want your Tesla to get flooded, particularly with salt water, because that can cause the problems we were talking about, the batteries shorting out and exploding in your garage, burning your house down.
well,
That can be a problem.
Tesla
But
or no Tesla, can we agree, Roger? We don't want our car flooded at all.
no, we do not.
Right.
It
Yeah.
is a very bad thing. By the way, the
Yes.
Tesla, although your car is emitting nothing, the electricity to charge it did come from probably a coal or gas-fired plant. So
Yeah, but we don't talk about that, Roger. We
Oh, okay,
forget
wait.
about that part. Okay.
That's
So,
a
like,
secret, isn't it?
you know,
Yeah.
listen, the pageantry is that we're driving green vehicles, and that's the important thing.
Right.
Right. Perception is reality in politics, Roger. Never forget that.
The optics, yes.
Hey,
the
Roger, let me ask you a question. What was the first presidential election you voted in?
Let me think. I was in the Army back in 1968.
So you were
I was-
Vietnam,
I didn't go to Vietnam. I went to Korea and Germany, thank God.
but you were Vietnam era.
Yeah, I was Vietnam era, Cold War era too. We call it, and
Was
I
that-
think it was probably in the Johnson era.
So Johnson, right after Nixon, that was your first election. You know, I ask people that because it's one of those things where you kind of age people, and I say age people in a perspective or experience way based on that question. And it makes me feel old now when I'm asking these interns, you know, which election was the first one, and we've talked about it on the show. And they say the first election I voted in was the, you know, Biden-Trump
I'll tell you,
election,
most
2020.
people alive today don't know Reagan. That wonderful period in our, and I mean wonderful period in our, Ronald Reagan.
Ron?
Yeah, exactly.
Was he
Young man.
he was a politician?
Yes, he was.
No, I'm just kidding. You know, I actually did my senior research on Ronald Reagan, but I will tell you this actually did scare me significantly, Roger, and then we'll let you go. I was talking to an undergrad. I will not call out this particular undergrad's university where they are studying, but they are studying as a writing and rhetoric major. And this was an intern that I was considering.
Right.
We ultimately did not take on as an intern. But by the way, if you're interested in interning with us, reach out at the office, submit your resume. We'll consider you. Unfortunately, this person I did not hire as an intern. And largely because of the answer to this question. This is a reading and writing rhetoric major. I said, tell me your top 3 favorite authors. And couldn't list them. And I said, okay, just tell me your thoughts on Hemingway, which is one of my favorite authors. And the response I got was, who's Hemingway? Was that a writer?
Oh my
And I said, okay, I'm extremely concerned at this point. So yeah, so I actually I told some of my interns from this summer, I said, I'm considering next summer giving mandatory reading list to our interns just to make sure they're getting some of these classics, like For Whom the Bell Tolls or Old Man and the Sea or Grapes of
Who was
Wrath.
Aristotle?
Yeah, exactly. Some Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Are Watching God. Some of these classics that people just need to have in their bailiwick. And I remember as a boy in Polk County there with Mrs. Milner at Lake Region High School and giving my summer reading list. And I was the nerd that would add up the number of pages that I had to read for the summer, divide it by the number of days in the summer. And I knew how many pages I had to read each day. And at the end of every day, I wrote a synopsis by hand, kind of my own Cliff Notes, because I knew I would remember. Well, but I soaked all that in, and I can hear Mrs. Milner now telling me, one day you'll be at a cocktail party or some friends, and a book will come up, and you will be able to speak intelligently about that book. It was about a year ago, Roger. I was at that party and some random literature came up and I could speak intelligently. And I told every person in that conversation with me, I said, I have to give a shout out right now to Mrs. Milner, who was my English professor at Lake Region High School in Polk County, Florida, because her prophecy came true. And it was right. You know, you don't want to look like some unwashed heathen in that conversation, and you'll be able to speak intelligently the better read you are. So anyway, Roger, I'm not sure how we got onto English literature from the storm, but we appreciate you calling in and being part of the show and making people aware to be safe, but don't panic. You heard us play the Shepard Smith audio. There's nothing to panic about, but just the normal stuff, you know, make sure you have food, water, and all that kind of good stuff. If you have canned goods, make sure you have the can opener. I can't tell you, and make sure, you know, you got the good old fashioned one that works by hand and doesn't need electricity to operate. But Roger, appreciate you calling in.
All right. Good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. All righty. Roger Schulman, folks, our man on the street meteorological expert and reporter here at Salem Communications. So 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. So yeah, if you're out and about tomorrow afternoon, probably not the best idea. Probably just want to hunker down because it sounds like it's going to be a lot of afternoon storm conditions, and just be safe and stay off the roadways and hang out, watch a movie or something like that. The interesting thing will be, maybe I don't know how churches will be tomorrow, so maybe it'll be a lot of online church attendance with the weather getting sketchy. Next, I want to talk a little bit. We kicked off the show after the storm conversation, talking about guardianship and making sure that you were designating the appropriate parties to be caregivers for any minor children or adult children with disabilities. But next, I want to talk about who's going to provide your care. And we sort of alluded to it, where you pick certain people to operate as your trustees. But there are certain states that actually have something called filial laws. These are laws that basically require children to provide some sort of care or financial support to their parents. Currently, there are 18 states that have such a law: California, Georgia, Iowa, Massachusetts, Nevada, Ohio, Arkansas, Delaware, Indiana, Louisiana, Montana, North Dakota, Alaska, Connecticut, Idaho, Kentucky, Mississippi, one of my favorite states, and where my alma mater for law school is located, North Carolina. So those 18 states all have laws requiring some element of support, financial or otherwise, from a child to a parent. The question I have for you, the listeners of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show: should Florida have such a law? Should there be some sort of law requiring children to provide care for their parents? I think as a matter of practicality, in most scenarios, and obviously not everyone has a great relationship with their parents, but I think in most scenarios, it's sort of natural to want to provide care for parents and for loved ones. But should there be a law requiring it? Is this the government's business to tell you to do it? Or is this something you should take care of on your own? What are your thoughts? 877-943-9673. Yeah, it's kind of like the government. Is it overstepping its bounds into the family? Is it good public policy to make sure, elderly parents are going to be cared for by loved ones and family members? So what are your thoughts? 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. And next, we're going to go to Inglewood and talk to Ricky. Ricky, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How are you, Ricky?
I'm doing better after our chat.
This is Ricky.
You.
Ricky. Ricky.
That's Ricky.
Can I update the listeners on your best friend? Do you mind if I do that?
Absolutely.
So, Ricky, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, Ricky. Ricky's best friend in the world was an absolutely majestic creature known as Wyatt Earp. And Wyatt Earp was a beautiful German Shepherd that I actually had the privilege of meeting, because when Ricky was kind enough to bring Wyatt Earp in, and when I talk about a dog having a presence to him, Wyatt Earp had that presence. The dynamic of the room changed with the charisma that Wyatt Earp had. An absolutely beautiful creature, but very special creature. And Wyatt Earp crossed the Rainbow Bridge, unfortunately, and is no longer here down here with us, but missed every day. And Ricky, I only met Wyatt Earp once, and I think about Wyatt Earp all the time, so I can only imagine what you're going through. But me and now the rest of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show Nation is going to be holding you up in prayer and supporting you and here for you, anything we can do, Ricky. But again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet Wyatt Earp, and thank you for letting me share that story with the listeners. And again, we'll be thinking about you, Ricky, and how can we help you today?
Well, you were talking about Ronald Reagan, and wanted to let you know I thought you'd get a kick out of this. I watched him build the Ronald Reagan Library, and one of the first people to visit the library.
Wow. So, and I was talking about blaming the storm on a Republican or a Democrat, and one of my favorite Ronald Reagan quips was when Sam Donaldson said to him, "Mr. President, you seem to have an answer for everything. And it seems like nothing that's a problem in Washington is in any way your responsibility or fault." And he said famously in response to that, "Well, no, Sam, you see, I once was a Democrat." And I always loved that sort of charm that Reagan had, to be self-effacing and at the same time make a fantastic political point. And I think the country could use a little bit of Ronald Reagan's energy right now, to be honest with you, and that sort of positivity and focusing on commonalities as opposed to differences, which I think was the masterful stroke that was Ronald Reagan, was the ability to help Americans see what they had in common more than what they held different. So, but Ricky, I appreciate you calling in with that point. And anything you need at all, Ricky, call us anytime, okay?
I will. Thank you.
You have a great Saturday. All righty. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now if you want to be part of the show. Let's go straight to Spike in Tampa. Spike, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Is this real, Spike? Turn your radio down, real Spike. Or is this fake Spike? All right. Let's go to Mike in Winter Haven. Mike, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Hey, Mike. Hey, turn your radio down for me, Mike.
All right. Okay.
How's my hometown in Winter Haven? How can we help you today?
I was doing good. I don't think we're going to get any of that storm.
Nah, I think in Winter Haven, which is where Mama and Daddy are right now, I think they're going to be fine. And I was thinking about them, and I was like, do I call them? I call them after the show every Saturday anyway on my drive home. But yeah, I don't think we got anything to worry about. So, plus they got all those pine trees out there surrounding them, and that sort of operates as a natural windbreak. So unless the winds are really bad, they're going to be in pretty good shape. But what's your question for us today, Mike?
Well, I got a letter from radiology imaging specialists over there from across the street from the Lakeland Hospital.
Okay.
And they sent me a letter the other day that someone cyber attacked them.
Yeah.
And my medical record was compromised.
And they're giving you notice of that? Are they trying to sell you some sort of identity theft protection coverage?
No, they're trying to tell me I need to
check your credit report and things like that?
No, it didn't even say that. They just said that you might want to change your I guess your phone
password, phone number, ID. Mike, I tell you what, let's make this easy. Give me a call at the office on Monday. I'll tell you how to get me that letter. We'll look at it together, Mike, and we'll figure out what they're telling you and if you need to do anything, okay?
Okay, because if they have, that's a serious problem,
I agree with you. And we will give it a serious response, Mike. But yeah, I'll just put eyes on the letter with you, free of charge, Mike. We'll take a look at that letter and get you figured out one way or the other. All right?
All right. Well, what do you want me to do?
Just call the office on Monday, 844-PATRICK. Just call that number, and they'll get you connected with me, and we'll get the document, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right, Patrick.
All righty, Mike. Have a great day, okay? Take care of Winter Haven for me.
I will. And y'all enjoy the weekend.
Thank you, Mike. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673. For the rest of you who wanted to schedule your complimentary consultation, 844-PATRICK, 844-728-7425. That's for Sarasota, Sun City Center, Claremont, Clearwater, any of our office locations, 844-PATRICK or 844-728-7425. But to be part of today's show, 877-943-9673. All right, let's go to take two with Spike. Spike, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Is this real Spike or is this fake Spike?
No, this is the real Spike. I'm in my trucks and I don't know how my phone's working, so it's going through my phone and all that.
It sounds like fake Spike. So how do I know it's real Spike?
I delivered a package for you yesterday.
Yeah, but but fake Spike might know that by now. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. No, I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. Yeah, actually, you delivered John Sinning's birthday gift for me. So, because I thought I was going to have time to get to the studio, but then I didn't. And no, you really saved me in the clutch there, Spike. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you for doing that. What's going on?
Right. Well, I meant to ask you this yesterday. I have a problem. One of my cousins, a couple of months ago, his mom passed. And so now he's taking over the estate and everything. But when she died, everything is in her name, is in the bank. And now he can't get access to it. How does that work?
Did she have a will?
I don't know about that, but I know that he's taking care of her house and he's down in Miami trying to do everything, but the bank just keeps saying it's in her name and they won't have to give him access to her money.
Yeah, so someone who has standing will petition to get a letter of administration. That's a court order. And it authorizes the person to go to the bank and marshal or gather those bank account assets on behalf of the beneficiaries. So, yeah, just give your cousin my number and we can get them started. But it's going to start with whether or not the deceased person had a will or didn't have a will. If they had a will, then the person that they picked to be in charge, that's their task. If it's your cousin, great, that's perfect. But if it's someone else, then that person would have the priority.
Oh, okay. So I need to find out if my Aunt Mary Alice had a will. Okay. Well, yeah. I'll tell them that.
And by the way, what county did this deceased person? You said the cousin lives down in Miami. Where did the deceased person live?
Oh, she's in Miami too, down in Broward County.
Oh man, that county. You know, I'm not a big Broward County fan. It's just, but but for you, we'll help Spike because it's you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll relay the information to him, and if he reaches out to you, then he can go from there. But his name, Ray Lee. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll talk with you about it later.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to see you on Tuesday. Mo invited me in for the show. And by the way, for those of you listening, I will be making another appearance on the Cat Named Mo show this Tuesday. So I'll see you Tuesday, Spike.
Sweet. All right, my brother. And thanks again for all the help you're doing.
Of course, man. You enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Stay safe in those storms, okay?
Be good. All right.
See you, Spike.
Bye.
All righty, 877-943-9673. That was Spike on the mic from the Cat Named Mo show. And again, I will be making my next appearance this Tuesday evening, 6 to 8 p.m. On the Cat Named Mo show. So very much looking forward to that. And people ask me all the time, and I tell them it is so much more fun. Not that I don't enjoy this. I mean, I have a blast every Saturday morning. It is my honor to come in here and answer legal questions. But when you are a guest on someone else's show, it's like playing on a playground. You get to have so much more fun because, none of the responsibility. You don't have to watch the clock. You don't have to worry about anything else going on. You just get to have fun the entire time. And it's so much fun because that's a particularly great group of guys, Spike and Mo and, whenever Wells or Dizzy are there, it's just a good time hanging out with some good dudes. And yeah, so really enjoy that and looking forward to Tuesday night on the Cat Named Mo show, 6 to 8. So tune in if you want to hear yours truly on that show. By the way, someone else asked me this. I want to address something else. There are apparently ads on lots of the stations because we're on like 14 or 15 stations now. I'm not even sure. And Joe, I wanted to ask you too. Someone said they heard us in Atlanta, and I got another call that said someone was listening in New York. So I don't know how or if our show is getting picked up on other affiliates that we're not even aware of. If that's a possibility, is that a possibility, Joe?
Well, certainly it's a possibility, but just without knowing anything else.
Yeah. One
thing that happens quite frequently is that, of course, Florida is a destination location. So a lot of people are down here for, winter seasons and so forth. So when they are here, they will hear programs and stations that they like. And when they go, and so they will download the station app.
Right. And I asked that question. I said, oh, you're listening on the app. They said, no, I had you on the terrestrial dial.
So they actually said terrestrial dial. That's impressive that they said terrestrial dial.
Yeah,
Well, then.
Yeah, because, I forced them to. I said, so you were listening on the radio in your car, and I said terrestrial dial. They said, yeah, just the regular radio that you turn on and turn the dial. And so, yeah, Atlanta, and another one said New York. So
well, how about that?
Yeah, so I don't know. But anyway, the point I wanted to make
I'd be interested to find out what station.
The ads that sandwich my show are not endorsements from me. So I wanted to make that clear. I don't run any ads during my show on purpose. I want it to be an hour of content, so you don't have to worry about any ads. But some people asked me if the ads on either side were my endorsement. They're not. They're also not my endorsement. I don't know what ads are running on either side of the show. But no, they're not. I'm not getting any compensation. They're not endorsements from me. So if you hear an ad immediately before or after the show, don't take that as an endorsement from me one way or the other. I did want to address that. So thank you for that. And if we are on in New York and Georgia, thanks for joining us, New York and Georgia. I'm not sure what a Florida lawyer is going to do for you, but we appreciate you listening. We appreciate all you listening, and we'll be back with you next Saturday. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. And the number to reach us at the office during the week, 844-PATRICK, 844-728-7425 to book your complimentary estate planning consultation or to book me to come and speak to your club, group, or organization, 844-PATRICK, 844-728-7425. Everybody stay safe, God bless, and of course, go Gators.
The proceeding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. W282CI Tampa, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
Are you ready to lose weight but not sure where?